Clive, good to see you. Welcome to Popternative.
Thanks for having me.
It's interesting because, specifically with this film, Kirk, I mean, I love the kind of reading a script and then going and filming it journey, right? Because it's really cool because so much kind of changes and everything. What was that like for you? What was that like reading this script and then going and filming it and seeing it come to life specifically?
It was great. I mean, I read the script and I'm like, wow, this character's great. Goes through so much. He takes a tumble now and again in this film, takes a punch or two. But there's nothing like reading it and doing it. So I didn't have a stunt double on this. This guy goes through the ringer and I had to do it all myself. So I'm crashing cars, going through the windscreen, kind of, getting beaten to a pulp, falling down cliffs, wading through rivers and lakes. By the end of it, I was like, I remember I got home after filming and I was like, I think I'm going to treat myself to a chiropractor. And I went in and he just kind of went, dude, what have you been doing?
It's so quick. Did it feel like, what was the pace of filming this movie? Like, did it just feel completely just like super fast paced the whole time? Or was it in kind of spurts of like, you had some time to like,
Oh, no. It was go, 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 go. I mean, for the amount of days we shot compared to some of these big budget action films, I mean, that was one of the reasons I didn't have a choice. They were like, you got to do this yourself. We got to go. And we're straight on to the next one. So even like you pull yourself off the floor after you've done something, you're like, oh God, can I just sit down? They're like, no, we're straight on to the next location, next scene.
Well, it's funny. It's like double whammy because it's like what type of film it is, right? The thriller action, but also it's an indie film, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also we were filming it just before the strike as well. So people were terrified that we were just going to have to lay down tools because the SAG strike was going to happen. So there was that, like, we just got to get as much in the can as possible.
So just like the quickest, it just felt like just quick all around. There's like 4 reasons why it was quick.
The director, Brian Skiba, was fantastic. He's the reason why I kind of signed up to do it. And he was like a sergeant major, marshal in the best sense of the word. Like, not only was he commanding on set, he would pick up an extra camera and just film while he was directing just to get that extra shot because you're like, there's many shots of this action sequence or this scene, or we're running out of time in daylight. So we've got this beautiful acting scene going on. So let's just get the most footage possible. And you really went above and beyond.
Okay, really so it's interesting. So we established, Clive, that this was a very like fast-paced, go kind of journey with this film. But I'm wondering, because there's so much that happened before you went to camera on this film, discussions and preparation, everything. From a storytelling and acting perspective, you could see there's 2 journeys, right? Before filming something and after filming something. Or for you, did it feel like one big journey with multiple steps? I'm curious about that.
Oh, well, no, there is. There's always that. Like I said, there's always the prep that goes into it. And but there's nothing like doing an indie film because what did Mike Tyson say? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. You suddenly just have to just go, oh, I guess this is changing, or we can't get that location. We're filming it here. There was a lot of that going on, but yeah, I just learned to roll with the punches.
Did it feel like one big journey, or did it feel separate, like for you specifically?
Yeah, it's always one big journey, but I mean, it's very different, I suppose, the actual kind of prep and then the actual physical aspect of it.
Absolutely. It's a time right now where there's a lot of genre, like, the thrillers, the actions, the horror movies, they've always been around, right? Like, they've always been around. People have seen them. But there's been this boom where there's big appetite for content like this. There's big appetite for thrillers. There's big appetite for crime thrillers, horror films. There's like, people love it. And like, the horror fans eat up all the thrillers. The thriller fans eat up all the horror movies. What's it like working in this genre? And something like Clear Cut that can kind of, I guess it's like, it's a thriller and it's got action, but it's got some kind of like moments where it's a little disturbing and like, it's not a horror movie, but it's got those moments. What's it like working in that genre at a time where there's just such a big appetite for it? Is it exciting? Like, what's that like for you specifically?
Oh, it's great. As long as I'm young enough to kind of throw myself around and I'm not breaking my back or kind of ended up with like bad joints and stuff, I'm always up for throwing myself into this kind of stuff because it's always about characters for me that have got like a fire in their belly that just, they get knocked down, they get punched, they bleed, they limp, they literally just get over the finish line and we don't know how. There's something about that kind of character that I love, the kind of the underdog.
Absolutely.
And you find them in these kind of movies.
For sure. How separate are past projects in terms of mindsets, preparation, feel, characters towards something like this? Like, do you ever bring things from Taken or Vikings to something like Clear Cut? Like preparation experience-wise, or are they completely separate once you wrap them?
Kind of separate. I mean, regarding a character, it's always like back to the drawing board every time. Yeah, you never really. I just think actors that are lazy that start just going, "Oh, this is what I do." Even if it seems like a similar character, I'll go, right, how can I make him different? How can I go as a start from the beginning and build him back up again to find, all the layers there, because you will find something different. But when it comes to other things, it's not that you reuse things. I just think my brain is always overthinking. So like, for instance, Taken, there were so many things I'd come up with and go, oh, this is a good stunt. This is a good fight move. This is a good thing to do. And you don't get to use them. So you just store them. So what I love is like, sometimes you have a film like this and you're like, I can use that idea I had like 2 years ago or something. So that collaboration kind of starts to kind of play into effect in your own brain.
Or Vikings when it's just battles the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Give me an axe. I'm like, oh.
I feel like something like Vikings is crazy just to see kind of like all the elements that like gets thrown on screen, like just the costumes and like just kind of what it looks like. Like that's a crazy project, right? Because there's so many factors when you like go film on it, right?
Dude, that was a dream job. It's almost like it was like, what's the kind of hitch here? It's like they're giving you a shield and an axe, and then they go play on our Viking set that we made look completely real with hundreds of extras and livestock and stuff, and we're going to pay you too. And you're like, what's this, like some candid camera thing or something like that? It was so much fun. I mean,
and it's cool, right? Because it's been a while since you like wrapped that show, but it's like Vikings Valhalla. It's like people can go back and watch the Vikings you were on. Like the universe just continues to grow, right? Like that's cool. Do you ever think about things like that? Like it's pretty cool to think about that, right? Like it's a whole universe now.
Actually, someone just came up to me about 3 days ago and they hadn't seen Vikings, but they'd seen Valhalla. And I started telling them about Vikings. And they know, oh, yeah, you've just copied that Valhalla show. And I went, little did they know. Because it's only just become available on Netflix, all of the episodes. So they had Valhalla for so long that now they think, even though we made it nearly 8 years before Valhalla, we
100%.
somehow...
I want to go back to Clear Cut because I feel like you brought up like learning experiences, and I want you to kind of talk a little bit about that because I feel like that's cool, right? Because like whether you've been on a set once or like 1,000 times, I feel like you're always going to learn something. So like, what were some specific learning experiences for you as an actor on a movie like this specifically?
It's funny as well. My agent always says that when she gives me an offer or something, she's like, "Do you think you can learn something from this one?" And she's represented me since I was 21. And it's really sweet because that's always the question you should always ask yourself as well. Am I going to learn something from this? Is there something in a personal journey for Clive, or is there something I'm going to learn about, the history of something? Because there's always something for an actor to take away onto the next job. With this one, a practical note is, when you do like a big series like Vikings, when you've got so much time, you get actors sitting around and wanting to talk about the scene all day, and they've got the time to do it. Let's talk about this, and I want to do it like this. Whereas a film like Clear Cut, because there's so much to get done, it's like, let's just do it. Let's just do it and see what happens. If it's bad, we'll do it differently. But it's very funny how you get a lot of that in big budget stuff where they say, hurry up and wait. So they get you there, and then everyone just waits around talking about it for a long time. And on this, I was like, sometimes it's better just to throw yourself in and see what happens. Yep. And if it's bad, they're not going to use it. So just let's experiment. And that's kind of a nice thing to learn all the way through life. Just, don't doubt yourself. Just throw yourself in. What's the worst that can happen?
That's very well said. No, absolutely. And US and Canada via Lionsgate, July 19th, people are going to be able to check out the film. So that's really awesome. Clive, it was so great chatting with you. Thanks so much for your time.
You did. Thanks a lot.
There's like if people want to keep up to date with everything, is there any like Instagram or social media they can keep up to date with, or?
Well, I'm just on Clive Standen on Instagram, and I'm about to go back and do some more morning show, season 4. And I've got a bigger video game coming out, Space Marine 2, which is going to be out on all platforms in September as well. So
you always got to plug. It's you got to do the plug. This has been Pop Turner. YouTube.com/Pop Turner for previous episodes. Until the next time, this is Clive Standen and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.